Imagine needing a prescription every month in order to live. Imagine that the drug prescribed to you costs more than all of your monthly bills combined. This is the reality for over 34 million Americans of all ages and all demographics. The prescription in question is insulin, and it's the lifeline to the millions of Americans who suffer from diabetes. Even with insurance coverage, the cost is so high that many people are forced to pay huge amounts of money out of their own pockets. Today I'll be discussing why the federal government needs to put a price cap on the cost of insulin. For too long, I have watched family members pour exorbitant amounts of their hard-earned money into their monthly insulin supply. And each of these people have decent health insurance coverage too. However, not even the insurance companies can compete with the rising cost of insulin. Since a few governors have been able to price cap the cost of insulin within their own states, I believe that the federal government can and should follow their example. I'm going to provide examples of how insulin was once affordable to diabetes patients, why it is so expensive today, and how we can attain affordable pricing again with the federal government's help. First, I'm going to explain how insulin grew to be so unaffordable. According to Healthline.com, when the scientific breakthrough of insulin was discovered, its sole purpose was to benefit humankind, and that's a sentiment that has been completely lost. In 1923, Dr. Frederick Banting, Charles Best, and Dr. James Collip had their names attached to the patent of insulin. They turned their patent over to the University of Toronto for production services and sold it for $3 in Canadian money. Therefore, they each received $1 in compensation, and their dollar at the time would be the equivalent of $14 today. Before this discovery, diabetes was considered a death sentence, and Dr. Banting felt that it would be unethical for a doctor to profit from a discovery that would save lives. The cost of insulin has tripled in the past decade, and the price that Americans are forced to pay out of pocket has doubled. According to Dr. Aaron Kesselheim and Dr. Michael Fralick, both professors at the Harvard Medical School, there are two main reasons why insulin is so expensive in the United States. The first is because U.S. laws permit pharmaceutical companies the freedom to set their own prices without a limit. The second is there really is no competition in the insulin drug market because there aren't any generic brands. Why aren't there any generic brands of insulin? The current insulin makers have eliminated one from entering the market to avoid competition. Although these facts are discouraging, there are politicians who are working on a solution. In the past few years, local and state government officials have found loopholes to help their constituents afford their insulin. But bringing this issue to the federal level would be extremely beneficial. Quinn Nystrom, a 33-year-old type 1 diabetic from Baxter, Michigan, is so fed up with the high cost of insulin that she's decided to run for Congress. She has vowed not to accept any money from insurance or drug companies to benefit her campaign. In the past, Quinn has organized 3 bus trips over the border to Canada. On these trips, diabetics can purchase their insulin at an affordable price. For example, Quinn claims that the same vial of insulin that she pays $340 for in the United States cost her a mere $30 in Canada. However, she compares these trips to putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound and doesn't view them as a solution. Quinn also states that the reason there is a price discrepancy between the drugs is because Canada holds their drug prices down with legislation. In May 2019, Colorado became the first state to prohibit insurance carriers from charging their enrollees more than $100 for a 30-day supply of insulin. In addition, the law permits the Attorney General of their state to investigate how prescription insulin prices are set. While other states have begun to follow Colorado's lead, there is still a push to control the price of insulin at the federal level, and the topic has been a huge factor in the 2020 presidential race. I think the best proposal of a solution came from Elizabeth Warren. In 2018, Massachusetts State Senator Elizabeth Warren and Illinois State Representative Jan Schakowsky proposed an ambitious bill to help make insulin more affordable. The bill would allow the federal government to produce drugs themselves at an affordable price. Now that I've exemplified solutions to the problem, I hope that you have a new perspective on how we can help the millions of Americans who are struggling to pay for their insulin. Since diabetes is such a prevalent problem in our country, I'm sure that you may know family members or friends who have the disease. Even if you don't personally know anyone, there are a multitude of celebrities who struggle from the disease, including Bret Michaels and Nick Jonas. Massachusetts is actually on a long list of states trying to cap the insulin price for its constituents. The most helpful thing you can do is go to the polls and vote for politicians who are in favor of this. In addition, you can support politicians who are lobbying for this change at the federal level. Whether it's personal or not, the price of insulin is a public health crisis, and we all need to come together and support our fellow Americans who are suffering because of it.